In this video, we're going to talk about relationships between classes, and basically we're going to talk about inheritance. So what is inheritance in object-oriented programming? First, we'll just do a little intro, and then we'll talk about the pros and cons of inheritance. Right, we're going to talk about relationship between classes, and we can establish different kinds of relationships: association, inheritance, composition, and aggregation. In this video, we're just going to talk about association very briefly and concentrate basically on inheritance. So let's talk about association. Association establishes a relationship between two separate classes through their objects. That is to say, one object has a reference to another object. Example, musician has an instrument. So the musician has a name, a music style, and an instrument, which is an object of another class. So the instrument has a type and a name. For example, we have Paco de Lucia. Yes, that's a famous musician, right? The music style was flamenco and he played the guitar. So the guitar is a string instrument called guitar, right? Translated into Java, how does this look like in Java? So here we have it. We have the public class instrument, open curly brackets, string type, comma, name, semicolon, so, close string, close curly brackets. And the same happens with public class musician, which has a string name, a style, and an instrument. Now, let's go for inheritance. Inheritance establishes a parent-child or specialization relationship between classes. For example, we have a string instrument, any kind of string instrument. So a guitar, a violin, a harp. What common properties do they have? They have properties such as having a number of strings. Here we have a violin, yeah, a number of strings. A type of wood they're made of, in this case, all different types of wood. It's not the same this wood and this wood and this wood, right? And in this case, when we play the violin, we need a bow. But, right, sometimes we need a pick, right? And, right, they also have some behavior. They all produce sounds. They have pegs that can be tuned, so you can readjust it so that it sounds the right note. But they also have differences. So a violin and a harp have some characteristics that are not present on a guitar and vice versa. In the same way, some instruments have specific behavior, actions that they can perform that is exclusive to them. Here, yes, you have the tuning pegs. In here, the harp is the tuning pins, which is basically the same. We have a neck, we have the chin, right? You have the strings here, the electric guitar, the same tuning pegs. And here we have the harp, which has a difference. It has a pedal, something that these other instruments do not have. Then when we talk about inheritance, we have to talk about superclasses or parent classes, right, which are more general class. And then we talk about the subclasses or child classes, which inherit from the superclass or parent class. Let's look at this class diagram, right? We have the string instrument would be the parent class or the superclass, while violin, guitar, harp would be the subclasses. If we look at the superclass, we have that string instrument. It has a number of strings, which will be an integer. For example, we have a violin. A violin is 4, but a guitar is 6. A harp can be between 22 247, or even we could go for a piano, which is 230 strings, right? So that could vary, of course. Then the wood type can also vary. We can have mahogany, ebony, maple, spruce, different kinds, right? Then, of course, it can be played with a bow, so it has a bow, or no, right? But obviously, they all play music, right? So we have some properties or attributes and some behaviors or methods play music. Then the subclass, violin, right, can have different types of bows. The length can be shorter or longer. Yes, right? You can talk about the hair. The hair can be horsehair or fiberglass. And of course, you can play with a bow, but you could also play pizzicato. Then if you look at the electric guitar, right, it's electric, so a Boolean can have a different branch, and then the methods could be you can connect it to an amplifier and you can play chords. Yes, chords is definitely this, right? So the subclasses will have the properties and the methods of the superclass, and they can include additional ones. So let's look at the pros and cons of inheritance. Pros. Code reusability. Inheritance is very useful for code reusability because it allows us to create new classes from already existing classes instead of from scratch. Subclasses inherit all the properties and methods from the superclasses. This will prevent us from writing the same code repeatedly. If we make one change on the superclass, it will automatically apply to all its subclasses. Also, reusability enhances reliability. That means that the system will perform adequately. So the superclass code will be already tested and debugged. Organization. Inheritance is useful to improve the structure of our application, grouping related classes together and creating smaller units rather than a big class with tons of properties and methods. Cons. Disadvantages. Of course there are. Tight relationship between classes. The main disadvantage of inheritance is that two classes, the parent and the child, are tightly coupled. That is, classes are dependent on each other. This could lead to some problems. A change in the superclass will affect the subclass. If a method in the superclass is deleted, then the functionality is lost for all its subclasses. Other things to consider. The improper use of inheritance may lead to more complex code or even wrong solutions for our application. And, of course, it decreases execution speeds, a bit due to the increased time and effort it takes the program to jump through all the levels of the class hierarchy. So, with this, I hope you have a clear idea of what inheritance is. And make sure you don't forget your OOPS concepts. That's your object-oriented programming.